I have just 5 seasons to save North Carolina football, and with the departure of players like Drake May, this rebuild's going to be pretty difficult. The Tar Heels are only starting as an 81 overall, and I made the challenges list harder than I've ever made it before for a 5-year time frame. If I fail to complete even just one of those objectives, I have to give away another copy of College Football 25, and I can only play in 3 regular season games a year in these rebuilds. The Hurricanes are the one team that might get in our way in our division, and if it wasn't for our top few guys, this roster would be in shambles. Junior halfback Omarion Hampton's going to have to carry us because nobody's great at the quarterback position, and that includes Texas A&M transfer Max Johnson. The only reason our first season might not go that bad though is because the ACC is pretty weak, and I'm actually surprised that it's currently ranked above the Big 12. If there's any position on this roster that we really need to focus on, it's got to be halfback, and because completing these 6 challenges in just 5 years is going to be so difficult, I have no recruiting restrictions in this video, which should make it so we can get some really good classes. I was stupid and replaced Mac Brown with level 3 myself though, so we don't have any recruiting boost besides scouting. And I know I'm probably not going to get most of these players when I can only put 500 points on them. We have to try our best though, and it's not like our preseason projection's terrible, so I'd love if we could make a bowl game with the Tar Heels here in year 1, and this result will kind of set up our season trajectory. If we come out on top, our other 2 non-conference games really aren't that difficult, and we lose by 2, so that's disappointing, but what threw me more off is Max Johnson was our best player on offense instead of Omarion Hampton. I hope he gets in a rhythm at some point this year, but now I have to start taking some of these guys off our board. Now, of all the original players on our board, these are the only 6 that I'm still going after. I wanted to pursue that we're not going to lose a battle on, and there's some good talents in here like Todd Hunter and then this athlete that we'd probably put at linebacker, but you're probably wondering where the rest of our class is at. And sitting at the bottom of our recruiting board, I have a bunch of players that weren't originally interested in coming to North Carolina, but I decided to go after them anyway, and that's because for whatever reason, no other colleges were pursuing them, and that's something that happens quite a bit on NCAA Football 14. I've already pulled out the low lock cheese a year into this rebuild, but the reason for that is if I don't, I'm instantly guaranteed to fail this 5-season rebuild, and we were able to bounce back against James Madison, but we have to continue that streak at home against Charlotte, and we lose by 3. There's no reason we should be going into conference play sitting at 1-2, and that's exactly why I have to be a little sweat in recruiting so I have a chance at completing all the video challenges, but even though we are going after all these guys, only a few are ready for a visit, so we're not getting our visit out of the way like I normally do. Instead, it's going to be in week 10 against NC State, and before then I have to make sure that we bounce back. Boston College has started the year 4-0, but they haven't beaten a single good team yet, and we just can't lose our first ACC game. Now, one of the reasons I did want to do North Carolina is they have sick jerseys, so that's about to come into play, and here on 4th and 4, Max Johnson helps us pick it up. He wasn't the only Johnson to transfer in from Texas A&M either, as his brother's also on the team. Currently, he is our backup tight end, so that could be an actual good connection, and he is going to take the sack. We're going to run that back without the play action, and now his brother hangs on to the ball. But what am I even doing? I'll just let Omarion Hampton punch this in. Well, they spotted him short, but then he'll get this. So it took us forever, but we did score on our first drive. Even after getting off to that solid start though, it wouldn't last forever, as with 4 minutes left in this game, we find ourselves trailing by 4. So it is crucial that we're able to get a touchdown here, and our slant is barely getting open. Tez Walker is a much better receiver than that, and I feel like this roster kind of got disrespected with the ratings. It would definitely be clutch though if we could come away with a stop on this 3rd and 8 and we drop the pick. So now Boston College has to make a decision, and this is not the one I would have guessed. Why are they punting us the ball back? There's only 2 minutes left in this game, and all it takes is one decent run from Omarion Hampton to end this one. I guess they thought they could trust their defense, and it turns out they can, which has been really backfiring for us so far, because after punting it back to them, they've already had 2 huge plays, and I think we're gonna have to throw together a game-winning drive. I honestly thought this would not be difficult for us to come away with a win in at all, but we are getting a very good kick return from McCollum, and this could actually be the touchdown that we need to just seal things. Except somehow the ball has popped out, and don't tell me they just got that back. I'm gonna challenge this play and just hope for the best, because if this ref doesn't overturn that, we're gonna lose the game off of a fumble, but he was down. I mean, there is no way that they don't give us this ball back, and that leaves us with 4 plays to get into the end zone. This has been a chaotic one to hop into for our first one, but we're gonna catch it, and Tez Walker is gonna put away Boston College. Alright, that was definitely an ESPN classic, and that stat line from Hampton wasn't good besides the touchdowns. We really needed that though, because us and Miami are the only 2 undefeated teams left in our division, at least when it comes to ACC conference play, and Virginia hasn't won a single one this year, so I'd be seriously confused if we lost this one, but I had no idea it was a rivalry. I know NC State is though, which is the game that I'm just trying to get to, because that's going to be our main visit week, and everybody in the ACC just seems to be awful, so we can skip over this too, but maybe not, because 1-4 Syracuse Syracuse just went into our place and beat us, setting us up to miss out on the ACC championship unless we can take down Miami. With these 5 remaining games, I think we have to hop into the one against the Wolfpack and the Hurricanes. But first, I just have to make sure everybody's ready to come on a visit, and also throw all 3 of these coach points into royal treatment, which is going to help us out greatly. If we're able to come out on top of this game, we're going to land so many prospects that we really need to get, and that means these 3 players have to show up. At some point in this rebuild, I have to sign the #1 class, and with 3 5-stars coming to visit us this week, it feels like a real chance it could be this season. But NC State has already scored, putting the pressure on us, and I had to wait for the crosser to get open that they still got the interception on. To end this first quarter, it would be super nice if we could just make them take the field goal, but that's not happening, and we might be on track to embarrass ourselves in visit week. I feel like NC State's not going to be better than North Carolina will next season, but they've kept a 2-possession lead on us for like the entire game, and it would be so nice if we could just get in. This is our chance to get it within 6 points. But defensively, they don't like to show up against NC State apparently, and we are going to hold them to a field goal. It just stinks we let them get all the way down the field first. And as time ticks down in this one, there's only so much that we can do. They're actually playing that ball, so we're going to lose to our rivals at home, and our fans look so disappointed in me. Even with royal treatment maxed out, we only got these 5 players to commit to our school, but I did really want this athlete at the beginning of the year because I think he's going to make for a good defensive player, and there's still always the chance that these guys also become Tar Heels later on. We're just going to have to be a little bit more patient for it, and why is Penn State even close? I have a bad feeling they're going to steal this guy from us, and there's no reason Georgia Tech should be a higher overall. Now that we're 2 games behind, I've kind of just accepted that we're not going to make the ACC championship, so what we might do is just sim over to week 14 against our rivals Duke, and we lose again. We have to win 2 of these final 3 matchups if we want to make a bowl, and this is ridiculous. How am I meant to turn around this program in 5 years? I mean, it definitely helps that we got a lot of these guys to still come to our school, and that's going to add up because all these guys should develop pretty well by season number 5, but I don't think it's going to be enough to sign the #1 class this year, and this level of fall off is crazy. We just got really unlucky during sim. At least I should be able to make sure that we beat Duke though, even if this means a lot less in football than it does in basketball. Currently, the Blue Devils are 3-8, so they've also regressed after losing their head coach, but I can't say too much because here in the 3rd quarter they have a lead against us, and Max Johnson just hasn't been good. We pretty much have to go for it on 4th and 7, and Tez Walker's gonna get just enough, so we'll continue to try to push it down the field until we took that sack, and this is going to be far enough. I can't believe that we might actually lose to Duke here. And what has happened with Tez Walker? I thought he was going to carry this offense. Both him and Amarian Hampton have let us down massively. I'm going to be very interested to see what their season stats turned out to be, and at least they finally started to come alive on this drive where we should tie the game up with this run right here. I always think it's pretty important to make sure that we beat our rivals in these 5-year rebuilds. We don't get that, but they're still going to have to punt the ball back to us, where I don't think it's going to be too difficult to get into field goal range, except that throw was way off target, and did he just snag that with one hand? That ball was not meant to go to that receiver, but instead the crossing route, so you can see all the inaccuracies I've been dealing with, and thank goodness that guy didn't make the catch. I'm starting to think that neither of these teams want to win this game, but I think we had a touchdown on that last play, so we're going to run it back, and yeah, this is definitely going to overtime. If we score here, I'm probably going to go for the 2-point conversion just to end the pain, and I'm so ready to just hop into season 2. If Duke gets a touchdown, they're going to have to get both that and the 2-point conversion, assuming we get in here, but I should have just run, and now it's on our defense to get 4 stops in a row here. On 2nd and goal, they're going to have lots of crossing routes out there on the field. They break the tackle, and Apollos Cook is going to cook enough to ruin this for us. My aggressiveness did not pay off, and I am so frustrated right now, but we still have 4 seasons left. I honestly thought we might go 8-5 in this first year, and then fall off after that because we're about to lose players like Tez Walker to the NFL. With how Max Johnson played, I couldn't have expected him to put up better numbers, and I just hope that Amarian Hampton is going to stay with us for one more year. He has got to redeem himself after we just went 4-8, and we also got beat by both of our in-state rivals. It is now time for the moment of truth, and it looks like we do have somebody transferring, but Hampton's staying for his senior season, and I'm not going to miss most of those seniors because of how they performed. When it comes to our class rank, because of the 3 5-stars we signed, we're very close to the top, but no matter what we do here, I don't think we're going to jump either of those schools, and I can't believe we've come away with signing 3 of those 4 guys. It looks like we finished at number 4, which is about what I was expecting, so that means through our first season, we haven't completed any of these 6 very difficult challenges, and we only have 4 years left on the clock, but these guys are going to be very good by the time that they're seniors. The reason I wanted Jeremy Davenport so bad is he's another option we could have at quarterback, and I didn't realize we had so many edge rush options, which means I'm just going to put Mike Love as a defensive tackle. We also really need some linebackers, so that's exactly where Andrew's going to play, and these training results could make or break this team. I really wanted Omarion Hampton to jump to a higher overall, but at least this roster is looking better than what we had last year, and once he graduates, we have 4 different halfbacks to choose from, so that's going to be interesting. I'm even going to redshirt Sean Beck, so all these guys are here by the time we're in our 5th season, and that's going to go for pretty much any sophomore I can find on the roster. I want all of them to stick around, including this center who isn't going to play for us this season, and hopefully if we do things that way, we won't be so bad by then. What I'm also going to do is look through every position and then go target players based on what we're going to need by season 5, so by the time I'm back with a built recruiting board, hopefully things look a lot better. I will say things aren't looking good in our season projection as we're coming in at number 85, but I'm so confident that we're going to finish better than 6th in our division, and when I found this 3-star tight end that ended up being a 6+ gem, I was so happy, but I've quickly realized that we have no chance at getting him. Obviously that was disappointing, but I found this JUCO 82 overall middle linebacker a really good kicker and just a lot of players that I'd still like to land, including newly discovered prospects like these 4 right here that I'd really like to go after, including James Bailey, who might be the quarterback that helps us win it all. I've tried so hard to set up our recruiting class the right way, and I'm almost certain that we lost to Charlotte last season, so we better not do it again. Next up is Florida State, who's ranked number 14, and this is a winnable game even if we're not supposed to come out on top. Before we play it though, I checked up on recruiting, and we lost the kicker from North Carolina that had 95 kick power, so I'm not happy about that, and then I saw that Rutgers is going to take this 81 overall tackle from us, but he's from New Jersey, so it makes sense. If anybody's going to respect us, we can't lose this, but Omarion Hampton's injured, and of course he's missing the 1 week that we need him. Now it's going to be a lot harder to beat Florida State because one of our freshman running backs are going to have to step up, and none of them are very fast, so I'm not really excited to use any of them. I'm giving Trent Hamilton most of the snaps right now, and on 3rd and 9 with this halfback screen, he's actually going to find another gear. So this drive down the field continues, and Johnson's going to hook up with his tight end brother right now. I have a feeling if we want to come out on top of this one, we're going to have to score a lot of touchdowns. But I was wrong about that because here in the 3rd quarter, it's been a while since we last reached the end zone, and yet we're still in this game because of how well our defense has been able to hold it down. I'm going to be really frustrated if we don't get 7 here though, and we can't get it out. So I think we have to take our field goal with this walk-on kicker. I forgot to recruit one next season, so I really need to get us a new one, and that stop to end the 3rd quarter could be a really big deal. I figured they'd come out kicking 3, but instead they decided to go for it, and that helps us more because we get the stop on them, but our offense is just struggling, and I don't know what we can do in this situation. We're going to have to punt it right back to Florida State, and they're trying to chew through as much clock as they possibly can. There's only a few minutes left in the game now, and we're going to be in a lot of trouble if we give up this 3rd and 6, but I was able to get in there, and you've got to be kidding me. They almost just made something out of nothing, and that looks like it's short, so we can beat the Seminoles with 1 touchdown, and I can make that happen. We have struggled all day, but I've also been trying to establish the run and not throwing it, but that's why, because I'm prone to taking multiple sacks, and I don't know if Max Johnson can hit that throw. We've already used 2 of our timeouts, so this is pretty much it. We have to pick this up, and I had somebody open, but I couldn't get it out. I have completely crumbled. We're going to wait for our out route to get open, but this offensive line clearly needs work. We have got to upgrade it, and it's a shame that we only put up 10 points. Their offense didn't even have a good day, and now we have to go on the road to UCF. I'm so disappointed we couldn't finish that one off, but now our offense wants to step up, and we still didn't have Omarion Hampton, but Max Johnson had 5 passing touchdowns, and Hamilton had almost 200 rushing yards. Maybe I'm the problem, and I just have to simulate more, because whenever I did, things changed drastically for us, but then we dropped 1 to TCU. This is what I'm talking about with the sim engine making 0 sense, and once again, when we meet Boston College, they're undefeated. It might not be teams like Miami or Pittsburgh giving us a hard time in conference play, it's schools like them, and I think if we're going to land any of these prospects that I really want to get, they've got to come on a visit versus Virginia. We still haven't signed anybody, losing CJ Smith to Rutgers, and because of how I've built out this coaching tree, after week 7, we're going to lose a lot of points that we can put on prospects. I really wanted to hop into this one, but we're probably going to lose it, and I have to make sure that we beat Virginia next week. So that's the mission, and we'll see how it unfolds. We're so much better than they are on paper, but I just can't trust NCAA Football's sim engine with a matchup as big as this one, and with Omarion Hampton back in the lineup, we're having a lot more fun on offense trying new things as well, as we might be up 14-0 before the end of the 1st quarter. There is one thing that I am going to ask of all of you all watching this video right now though, and that's to make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already subscribed to my channel. If you've watched a lot of my videos, you all would know that's something that I don't ever bring up. I rarely ask you all to do it, but with College Football 25 coming out, I want to try to hit 500k subs by the end of 2024, and that's going to be a really difficult goal to achieve, so I need as much support as I can get. I'm also blowing out Virginia, so as a reward for that, just hit the sub button if you haven't already, and we should have just gotten a ton of different recruits to commit. We blew our rivals out by 39, that's our biggest win of the rebuild, and in return for that, we've been rewarded by getting so many different yellow names to pop up. There's literally only a few few players we're going after that haven't committed yet, and James Bailey's super close. So this class is set up to be even better than the last one, and I love how many athletes that we have on our board. I'm also going to redshirt this 82 overall middle linebacker because by the time we're in our 5th year, he should be a stud. And now is the time for us to look for more prospects that might not be getting recruited by other schools, and there's a lot of halfbacks here. Nobody at that position ended up being great, but I did find some other good players, including a punter that we can move over to kicker, and he's just as good as the guy that we lost out on. The second I want to start going after some of these other players though, that's when colleges decide to enter the race, and that's frustrating because they've been available all year, but we're just trying to get through the rest of recruiting. We have to sign a #1 class at some point, and this is another decent chance to do that. But if we're not winning more games, there's no reason for anybody to come here. And I can only hop into one more this season, but we might not even need that because I'm not sure what we can achieve still. All it takes is one more loss to miss out on the ACC championship, so I'm gonna have to give up on that goal if we drop even just one game on the way to playing against Miami. But surprisingly, we've won 2 in a row, and this is what I needed out of the Tar Heels, just one more win to become bowl eligible. Now we're getting closer to the top of our division standings, and if we beat Miami, we could make the ACC championship. But we need the Eagles to lose again, and this is gonna be tough. At least recruiting seems to be going pretty well. We have signed James Bailey and another quarterback. We have way too many of those, but I'll take it, and as we get more coach upgrades, we can put more points into prospects. That's gonna increase our odds of getting some of these guys, even if other teams have stepped into the battle. And going into this game, I kinda know what to expect. If we're able to somehow pull off the upset, that would be wonderful. But before we find out if we're able to take down the 4th best team in the country, a word from Groons, today's video sponsor. I just got back from a little trip, and I had these sitting at my apartment waiting on me. Now, I've seen these Groons gummies when scrolling before, but I've never tried them, and I'm excited to see what they actually taste like. I love gummies, they're literally my favorite candy, but these aren't candy, they're a snack pack of gummies meant to make critical nutrition simple and enjoyable. Just by opening them, it looks like there's a ton in there, and apparently there's 8 gummies in each one of these snack packs, because you can't fit the number of nutrients that they do into just one of these gummies. As you can see, I did get the sugar-free option, but they also have one with 3 grams of sugar per serving, and as a gummy connoisseur, it's time I finally try these. Yeah, that is really good. Those were pretty tasty, even though they have no artificial coloring or flavors, and I'd compare it to like eating a fruit snack. Groons ingredients are backed by over 35,000 research publications, and if you want to replace your multivitamins with a better option, I definitely recommend these. Generic multivitamins only contain around 7 to 9 vitamins, but these have 20 plus vitamins and minerals and 60 plus whole food ingredients. Plus, if you scan the QR code or click the first link in my description, you can get up to 45% off Groons, and this was a nice little snack to have mid-rebuild. Now we get to see if we can upset the Miami Hurricanes, but I doubt that's going to happen, and on 3rd and 1, we're going to start the game with a tutty. Having Omarion Hampton back for his senior year is a big deal, and it's probably the only reason that this team's currently 6-3. This season's going a lot better than I was expecting it to, but there's still plenty of issues we've had to deal with, and that corner route was open until we threw the pick. I tried to lead him to the back corner, but it didn't happen, and that was the start of our collapse. We've given up 14 straight, and it's about to be even more. I mean, it's nice that we held them to a field goal there, but we have a lot of work to do. This could be the start of it, and even though we completed that pass, you can probably tell that Max Johnson's been inaccurate. Now it's 4th and 10 with a few minutes left, and against that in man-to-man coverage, we don't get it. So after scoring first, we never did again, and I'm not happy about that, but they were a really good team. So are the Panthers, as we're both sitting at 6-4, and we are going to win by 3, which will lead to us signing a load of different players, including the punter that we needed to move to kicker, and now we finish up the year against Duke. So we might just be 8-4. I really hope we come out on top here, which we do. This is a great second season, even though we're about to lose a ton of players. And I thought I'd be upset about Omarion Hampton graduating, but he was injured a lot, and Trent Hamilton filled in really well. I also have to give credit to Max Johnson for turning it around, limiting his turnovers while passing for more touchdowns, and that didn't cause us to have a 1,000-yard receiver, but both of these seniors had 10 touchdowns. We've even been placed in the Duke Mayo Bowl, and it's against Washington, who's had a fall off over the last 2 seasons too. This is a team that was in the national championship a couple of years ago, and now we're just battling it out, both sitting at 8-4. I probably shouldn't have talked too much crap though, because this really hasn't been a battling it out. They've destroyed us, and we're not even a couple of quarters into the game. If we go down 28-0, there's no coming back from that. I don't know what to do, and I know our offense hasn't been good, but we haven't stopped them on defense once. By the time we eventually figured things out, it's going to be too late for a comeback. Them recovering this onside kick seals it, and I was way too confident going into that game. Just like last year too, there's no chance that we have any first team All-Americans, so unless we sign the #1 class, we're not not going to complete any challenges. And the Johnson era is already over here at North Carolina, with Max Johnson actually projected to be drafted. He went in the 4th round while Marion Hampton went in the 3rd, and I don't think we're going to get a single transfer all rebuild. If we could just close out these 3 battles for 4 stars though, we might sign the number 1 class, because right now we're sitting at number 2 and all we have to do is jump Texas A&M. It is time for the moment of truth, and we did get all 3, but that still wasn't enough, so we haven't completed a single challenge. I might have made these too difficult, but I wanted this video to be super hard, and I'm very happy with the recruits that we landed, but anybody that's a JUCO junior is definitely getting redshirted, so we have them in season 5. That's going to be our time to shine, and we have way too many quarterbacks, so none of these guys can be moved over there, and this athlete's actually going to help out our offensive line. Then we have Bob Jackson, who is 94 speed, and I figured we'd probably put him at corner or safety, but he also would be a great wide receiver. And after doing that, Matt Roach is then going to be moved over to free safety instead, with the thought of Chris Wilson also playing over there, but he really doesn't help out too much, so we're just going to have another QB or running back. Lastly, we have another very fast athlete going over to wide receiver at a 75, and it would be nice if this player progression was better than the one that we got last year. I'm really not seeing what I was hoping I would, as Connor Harrell didn't go up by anything, and our roster size is too full, so we're going to have to start cutting players that we're probably never going to use. After dealing with that, I had to put together their schedule based on real life, and Notre Dame is on here, so that's going to be a tough one, and any player that's labeled as a junior is getting the red shirt. It's basically just the JUCOs that I've recruited last season, but we should be really good by season 5, and I have to choose which of these guys to start at QB. I'm looking at throwing stats, and James Bailey has some really good ones, which is why it makes no sense that he's a lower overall than Jeremy Davenport, and Connor Harrell's a senior, so it wouldn't make sense to use him. I think for these last 3 seasons, James Bailey's going to be our starter every game unless he gets injured, and it looks like the only position groups that have a D rating now are tight end and strong safety. As for our position in the preseason projection, 34 isn't terrible, and outside of Boston College and Miami, we're supposed to finish 3rd in our division. That surprises me since we've taken a step back going down to an 81 overall, and I have to hop into this game to see how our new freshman quarterback plays. He's going to have squiggly lines on the field for a while. On 3rd and 7, we actually have somebody wide open though. This could be a massive play for us, and Culliver gets 30. The Horned Frogs have already scored, so I'm just going to do my best to respond back. A big run from Hamilton too, and if we can just give this offense 2 seasons to develop, I have a feeling it's going to be pretty solid. Our defense would then get a stop, and I think it makes sense to go for it on 4th and 1, moving the chains, because I did not want to take just a field goal there. I felt like we could get more. When hopping into some of these games, I have struggled in this rebuild, so I want to make up for it and make sure that we take down TCU on the road, and also that James Bailey just starts his career the right way. By the end of the 3rd quarter, we're still up by 7 points, which is a really good sign, and Hamilton's about to get his first rushing touchdown of the day. I really don't think this matchup could have gone any better for us than it did. We just destroyed TCU, and that was with our freshman quarterback that still could improve a ton. The combination of him and Trent Hamilton should be lethal, and I know there's only 9 players on our board, but they're high quality prospects that I really want to get, and I guess we still have room to add some more guys to target too. The only real needs are either Steven Childs or Jason Williams to play tight end for us, and then there's plenty of different DBs, so all we have to do is land one of them to play at strong safety, which is why I'm not too concerned about who we're going after, but if nobody's going to target these 5 stars, we should probably get them. Even if we don't need them at this specific position, I have to sign the number 1 class in the country, so we're going to go after all these players that other colleges aren't. And now we have a tough game on the road at Florida State. I really want to play this one just so we might start 2-0, but even though I am hopping into it, it's still going to be difficult. And they scored a touchdown on their first play. Bailey can barely tell what routes are out there on the field, so I have no idea what to expect now, but this is fine. What's not fine though is somehow on this drive he got injured, so he's going to be out with a sprained elbow for the next 3 weeks. And our defense has done their best to hold it down here in the first half, but they can only do so much. It is now 3rd and goal. I'm hoping that all they can get here is a field goal, and that is going to be the case. But we've been struggling to score with Davenport, and the reason for that is he just hasn't been very accurate. This also isn't going well, so we have to punt it back again, and it took us until there's less than 4 minutes left in the 4th quarter to get inside the red zone. The only way we even have a chance in this game is if we stop them on 3rd and 7, and it's so loud we don't even know what button some of these routes are on, but I'm still gonna just try to throw it up with Davenport, and it is still inaccurate. Everything is on the line on this 4th and 10, and I think we should be able to pick this up, but Nate Hayden didn't fight enough, and Florida State takes us down. It kind of stinks that we wasted hopping into this one now, but to be fair, I didn't expect our starting quarterback to get hurt, and I think it's only gonna get worse from here. We're about to play Notre Dame, even though they're 1-2, so this could be where our downfall starts, and there's no way that we also lose to winless Marshall. Before we find out how that unfolds though, I'm gonna start scheduling players for a visit against number 22 Boston College, and that worked out for most of them, but some of these guys' schedules are so full already that we're gonna have some other weeks too. I think I'm still gonna hop into the one against the Eagles though, and did we really just lose to Marshall? Ever since since we lost our starting quarterback, we've struggled. This season's pretty much already over because we still have to play Boston College. We have a couple road games against these undefeated teams and Miami too. James Bailey's no longer on here, which is a good sign, but it might just be too late for him to save this team, and I've got my fingers crossed because I have decided to sim this one that we lose by 6. He threw 3 interceptions, so it's his fault that we didn't beat him, and I can't believe how bad this rebuild's going. At least we signed a couple good players. Surely we're going to be able to bounce back at Virginia, and I think I'd seriously be speechless if we drop this too. We do by 2, and I'm about to get fired because there's no way we hit 9 target wins. I would have never imagined year 3 in the 5-year rebuild looking like this, but it's bad and I have to play this one on the road. We can't afford to keep losing. At some point we have to win, and this might be our last chance this season to turn things around. I don't know how we're going to do that though, considering we're already down 14-0 and we can't do a thing, but at least we forced them to finally settle for 3, and throwing a freshman quarterback out there might not have been the best decision in the world. He is able to complete passes every so often, but for sim purposes, NCAA Football 14 probably takes that into account, and I recruited a kicker with like 95 kick power so we could put stuff like this in. He still didn't have the leg for it though. They were able to score again, and we're about to end this first half down 24-0. I've never felt this embarrassed in the middle of a rebuild before, and we've lost a lot of games that we shouldn't have, especially ones I've hopped into. I never expected it to go this way. We're gonna really struggle, and I guess this kind of makes up for it, but it really doesn't do too much. Yeah, it was cool to have a nice little aggressive catch and touchdown, but we have still fallen to 1-6 in season number 3, and we need Sim to be on our side in these final games. It sure wasn't in recruiting as we lost out on tight end Jason Williams, and it's kind of remarkable that we still haven't won a single ACC game and that streak continues. I'm definitely gonna have to restart my head coach as a level 3, and that's gonna make it impossible to get a number 1 recruiting class. This one's not even near the top, and that's probably my fault for going after way too many different guys at once. I mean, I have about 300 points on 10 different players, but none of them were even close to closing out, and many of them aren't ready for visits either, but if they are, we're gonna schedule them as soon as possible. If we were ever to win a game, this is probably the one, because after Georgia Tech, we play Miami, Pitt, and Duke, so we really need to come out on top here, which we do. It was about time something like that happened, but we lost this guard to our rivals NC State, and we're still sitting at the bottom of our division with Virginia Tech and Boston College on top. I wasn't expecting that since Miami's ranked number 9, and they're like a 95 overall. There is zero chance that we were able to win that one. To be fair, it was a little bit closer than I thought it would be, but either way, we still lost, and these are just the growing pains of using a freshman quarterback. He's struggling immensely out there. 2 interceptions to 1 touchdown is not acceptable, and I can't imagine that we're going to beat Duke to end the season with the victory bell, so let's just go ahead, get it over with, and that is another loss. Going into the offseason, there's still a few players on here that we're going to have to work really hard to win over, and we did sign a lot of these guys, including 2 5-stars, I'm pretty sure, with John Sutton and John Simon, but there's no way that we have enough commits to have the number 1 class in the country, and this has actually caught me by surprise. I don't know if we can maintain this, but it would be awesome to complete a challenge, and signing the number 1 class almost has to happen this year since I'm going to have to restart as a coach. I would have never guessed that we would have had double-digit losses in season 3, but I think what I learned from this is I should not start the freshman quarterback next time, because not only would that affect how some of our wide receivers performed, but it would also cause sophomore running back Trent Hamilton to regress a lot after he had a really good season last year. With only 2 seasons left, I'm in a ton of trouble, but if we run the air raid offense, we could have some success. I've literally made North Carolina a 2-star school, so that's embarrassing, but we still have a little bit of time, and it's not like we're losing a ton of players. We're only having 6 leave our team from this last season, which means it's impossible for us to not get better. Since we currently hold the number 1 class, I'm also going to have to do something I don't want to do, and that is avoid targeting the players that we need and instead put points on these guys because I know that we can actually land them. They're all 4 stars, so that should help us maintain the number 1 class, and this group of guys that still has some really solid players near the top of the board finished at number 1 overall, so I have finally completed a video challenge. I still don't think all of this is going to be possible, but at least we're on the right track, and the last thing that we need is more halfbacks or wide receivers, but that's exactly what we're going to get. I was hoping one of these guys could at least play DB, but that just wasn't the case, and I recruited Steven Childs so we would have somebody to put at tight end, so I'm glad he's still a 76 there. How we do in these last 2 seasons is all up to how our players progress though, and it was about time that we had a lucky roll. I've been waiting to see some bigger increases like these, even if there are some +3s. Even if it's only going up by 2 overalls, that's better than regressing, and there's no reason that you should ever have this many halfbacks or this many wide receivers on a roster. I'm pretty sure I could just scroll forever. Since we've already completed our recruiting challenge too, we might as well just put all of the coach points into game management, and if there's any position I need to fill here in season number 4, it's literally just fullback and punter. We have 8 seniors, so I'm going to do my best to replace them, but that's it. And 2 of them don't even matter, but these other 6 guys do, as they're all going to be starters, so that is some painful players to lose. We would get pretty unlucky with our conference draw though, as we have to play at number 6 Clemson on the road, and just looking at our 4-year outlook, they expect us to make the jump from 92 to 2 next year. I've never seen anything like that before, but our preseason projection is pretty disrespectful. So it kind of makes sense, because besides Miami in our division in the ACC, we are the highest overall team. We still have to live up to that though, which is something we haven't done yet, and I don't think player progression could have gone any better for us than it did last season, but Purdue took us down still. I've had enough, I've seen enough. James Bailey's no longer the starter. It is going to be Jeremy Davenport, and we're not going to run an air raid offense. We're going to run the spread like I like to do in most of my rebuilds. Since I put 0 points in the scouting, I don't even know the true overall of the players I'm going after this year, so we just have to rely on the guys that are already on our roster. And if they can't beat Purdue, how can we win a championship with them? I have to expect, with UCF being a 90 overall, that we're also going to lose at the bounce house, which we do. And this has to be a joke. Surely East Carolina doesn't also beat us. It's almost like we're just a smaller school. Eastern Michigan has a better chance at getting this recruit than we do, and I might as well just schedule players for a visit for this one, since it might be the only one we could win. This is an 88 overall team versus a 74. I really hope the NCAA Football 14 factors that in, and there we go. It took a while to get a good result, but Davenport played well, and he did on the ground too. Now I have noticed that Trent Hamilton, our star halfback, broke his tibia, so he's out for 6 weeks, and we're also missing our highest overall player for 6 weeks with another injury, so those could be a couple of reasons why we're struggling. At least we would sign our one team need though, a punter, so that's a good thing. And I wanted Richard Martin to start for us next year, but Eastern Michigan's actually going to take him. Now I do think it would make sense to play this matchup, because if we're somehow able to win this, that would drastically change our outlook for the rest of the season, and this is my chance to make up for all of my bad performances in previous games that I've played. They're already trying to bomb us deep though, and we swat it down. I don't really love that Davenport's out there on the field. I didn't enjoy using him last season, or Ramsor, our backup halfback, but we've been dealing with injuries and we had to change what we were doing offensively, so this is just gonna have to work. Jeremy Davenport certainly doesn't have a better arm than James Bailey, but he did just try to get this over the defense and it worked out. So maybe we're not that terrible. Nate Hayden just came away with a big catch, and we needed that so bad. Another stop on 3rd down would also be big, because right now we have control of this game. I am trying my best to save this rebuild. They did send in a blitz though, and I don't think we're going to pick up this 3rd and 4. So we had to punt it back to them. They scored, and we just need somebody to get open. This is such a big game for us. If we could pull this off, it would really change everything. They keep going for those deep shots, but I feel like our DBs are good enough for that, and I might just have to run the option for the rest of the year, because that is the only thing that works. Every time that I try to throw the ball, we seem to get stuck on these 3rd and longs, and we're going to be short once again. But I'm going to have to start playing a lot more aggressively, and it actually paid off. I'm really trying my best to come away with the right result here. They just have such a good D, and that's probably going to continue here in the second half, but at least we have the ball to start it. It's mainly our offensive line that I just didn't do a good job of recruiting in. We have got to get the ball out quick like I did here. And it also doesn't help that both of our coordinators are like level 1 since I got fired. Now on a 3rd and short, I doubt they were expecting us to throw it in this situation, but I found Chris Culliver, and that puts us up by 7. There has been a lot of emphasis on this matchup because I really felt like it was our last chance to turn things around. But if we actually want to win, we can't be giving up stuff like that on 3rd down. I can run commit because we already know that they were probably going to hand this ball off. And as we go into the 4th quarter, what I might do is just try to make this the final possession of the game, but we could break away a huge run here, and that's a nice one. I'm starting to appreciate Jeremy Davenport a little bit more, but since we're already past midfield, I highly doubt this could be the final possession, and I just don't know why our starting running back had to get hurt for half the season. After how he played as a freshman, I was so excited to see him develop, but most likely not much will change now, and we're going to drop the ball. It's saying that we can't hit this 52-yarder, but we're kicking into the wind. Surely it'll go in, and that puts the pressure on our defense. It's 3rd and 5, and what are we doing with our zones right there? Did we seriously just let 86 break free? We have got to stop him a little bit short. Holding them to just a field goal here could be the difference maker, and on 2nd and goal, they've decided to run the ball again. I wasn't expecting it. All right, now it's 3rd down, and again, they hand the ball off. So what I'm going to do is just call a timeout, and that's going to leave us with a minute to win this one. All it's going to take for us to come out on top is one big play, and I found the perfect spot in the defense to hit Jackson. He is going to break free, and that is what you want to see. It happened so quick, but we are going to reach the end zone, and we probably should have just gone down at the 1 and kicked a field goal. It gives them a slight chance with this Hail Mary. I'm expecting our guys to knock it down, though. I am spamming the SWAT button right now. We are going to get the interception, and who would have thought we would take down the number 2 team on the road? That is a huge win for Jeremy Davenport, solidifying his spot as the starter for the rest of the rebuild, and as far as I'm concerned, this is a team that is on top of the ACC standings. The other 2 games I want to hop hop into are against Virginia Tech and against Miami, but we have to make it there first without losing something stupid, and I never have a good feeling about going on the road. At Boston College, we beat them by 7 though, so now we're sitting at 3-2, but Virginia is favored to take us down. I don't understand that. We're 9 overall is better, we're hosting it, but I guess we're also the school that just lost out on a tackle to Eastern Michigan, and I don't want to talk about it at all. Let's just go ahead, get to week 9 for a big matchup, and how did we lose? I truly believe that overall can't mean that much in sim, but instead how good the game perceives you to be, because right now we're the 49th best team while Virginia is just a couple of spots higher. Luckily, if we take down Virginia Tech, we could still make the ACC championship, and that's going to be a battle we're going for. We've also signed a lot of different recruits, so our class is coming together even though I had no points in recruiting. Since we're still missing 2 of our best players, it's going to be really difficult to beat the Hokies, but if we could, that would be a program defining moment. And imagine the scenes if we beat our second top 3 opponent of the year. That could be enough to give us a shot at making the playoffs if we were able to somehow win out, and we just forced them into a 4th and inches, so I figured they would have gone for it, but they played passively. We don't have the luxury of doing that considering we have to win this game, and that is a huge run from Ramsor, so the backup's delivering and I'm fine with him filling in. Once again, they have driven down the field against us, but we'll be fine as long as they keep kicking field goals, and I'm trying to make sure that this is the final drive of the first half, but we still have to get through 2 minutes of clock. So far, I feel like we haven't done too bad, and this is going to take us past the 25, so we're starting to inch a little bit closer, and it would be best if I was just smart about the routes I threw. I'm going to do my best to not force anything, but if something's open, I have to take it. And ever since that moment, neither team's been able to score, but they're moving it down the field. There's only 3 minutes left now, but their offense has just been super odd. I have been able to stop it most of the time, and normally it's by run committing since they come out in all these heavy formations. Here on 2nd and 11, I figured they probably would have thrown the ball, but instead they've just made it 3rd and long for themselves on this play, and we're going to knock them down. It would almost make sense to kick a field goal and then try to get a defensive stop. Instead, we are the ones that are getting the defensive stop with the user interception, and Hunter is going to end the game for the Tar Heels. We are beating number 3 Virginia Tech here at home in front of the home crowd. Todd Hunter, our free safety, just made a spectacular play, and I'm so happy with how we ended that game. Jeremy Davenport also didn't play terribly, but if our offense was better, it wouldn't have taken us that long to upset the Hokies, and I just hope that we can keep winning when I have to sim. I'm not even worried about whether or not we get these last remaining recruits. We don't need them. And please tell me NC State's not about to cause us an issue. You've got to be kidding. I really don't understand. We had 200 more yards of offense than them, but we also threw 3 interceptions. And I don't even know why Davenport's throwing it that much, but 4 touchdowns doesn't matter if you turn it over 3 times. I'm almost certain that's going to ruin our chance of making the playoffs, but we might still be able to make it into the ACC championship if things play out the right way. What we need to happen is Virginia Tech to lose another game since we have the tiebreaker, but they play at Wake Forest and at Virginia, so I'm not expecting that, and I'm just going to sim this. If we somehow beat Miami, I'll continue to try and push for the ACC championship, but we lost, and I figured we'd lose to either Pitt or Duke in sim anyway. We're probably going to finish the year at 7-5, but then make a bowl as well, so that's not too bad, and like I thought, Virginia Tech didn't lose again. We were their one loss, but Jeremy Davenport's going to have to step up big time in year 5, because even though he was our leading rusher too, I need him to win the Heisman, and I still feel like there's no chance we complete the rest of the challenges. The best we've done is make stuff like the Mayo and the Pop-Tart Bowl, and we're 4 seasons deep, but we still haven't had a single first-team All-American. That means we somehow have to get all 5 of them next season, along with all of these other things, and let's just try our best to take down number 14 Arizona first. By this time in real life, there will be a 14-team playoff, but I've decided to just stick with a 12-team playoff for this entire dynasty, so that's how we're facing the Wildcats right now, and that is definitely cover 2. They'd go on to score the next 10 after that, but I'm still determined to come out on top in this, and I think we have to go for it on 4th down. I'm way too aggressive to just settle for 3, so that's why I've handed it off to Hamilton, who is back, and with 34 seconds left in the first half, I'm going to take our hitch route. Steven Childs is the fullback that I moved over to tight end, and whenever he's in the game, he's a good target in the red zone, but he wasn't on the field for this play, so I found somebody else, and this time I'm going to beam it straight to him. Now it is 3rd and goal, man-to-man coverage again, but they're sticking so well that I'm just going to have to kick this field goal and put us up by 4. It wouldn't be the end of the world since the next time a team was in the red zone, it was us doing this, but we still kept this a lot closer than it should have been, and we could literally end the game with a stop on 4th and 11. They had 3 slants on the field, all going to the same spot, then they took their flat, so our defense proved why it was so good, getting us our first bowl bowl win in this rebuild, and I'm scared to see who declares for the draft. We always knew guys like Tyler Thompson were going to leave us as seniors, but it's nice to see some of these other guys stay besides Mike Love. And I'm literally just going to start lying to him to hopefully get him to stay. I'm going to guarantee him a national title, and then even though he's a defensive tackle, I'm going to tell him that he's going to win the Heisman. Since he didn't believe that lie, I have to do it one more time, and that convinced him to stay, which means if player progression goes right, we might have a 99 overall. That would make our defense insane, and it is a little sad we lost Tyler, but we have other guys that can step up, and I don't even want that guy. I'm only going after Derek. I knew this class was going to be bad, but I wasn't expecting it to be this low, and it probably doesn't matter anyway, but all of these guys overalls could still change a ton. For example, Nate Roberts went up by 1, and then we have this athlete that's never going to see the field, but he does become a 74 halfback. I don't think that you're supposed to have 8 of them, but that's what I've done, and whatever happens here determines how good season 5's going to be. I don't love it since I'm seeing stuff like a +1, but we might have a lot of 88 overalls, and there's so many different players I could start at halfback, but I think it still has to be Trent Hamilton. We'd even get a new defensive coordinator, but unfortunately he's only a level 9, so that doesn't help us much, and there's so much on the line right now, but at least they finally scheduled South Carolina. There's currently 33 seniors on this roster, so I've tried my best to set this team up for success, and we're currently projected to finish just outside the 12-team playoffs. Remember, not only do we have to win the ACC, which we are projected to do in our division, but we also have to have a Heisman winner, and nobody's projected to do that right now. Along with 5 first-team All-Americans, again, nobody's on this projection, and we even need a player to win a defensive award. I don't know if we can achieve all that, but we are 93 overall, and we could start the season with a road win against number 18 South Carolina. Ideally, Davenport's going to be our player that's in the Heisman race, but we still haven't scored a single point as we've reached the second quarter, and it would be amazing if Madsen could pull away here, which he is fighting all the way to the 4. We have some really fast wide receivers on this team, which should help, and we'd score again, so we're having a really good first half against the Gamecocks, bringing them down. I'm even going to call a timeout here, because I believe with 56 seconds left in the half, we could still get some points. Jackson's going to do a little back juke since it's so overpowered, and we also got a couple of good blocks, so he's going to take it past midfield and even more. Now we just have to lean on Jeremy Davenport to throw some dots on this defense, and that was one. So you can see that the junior has taken some strides forward, and I have to appreciate that from him. I'm still not 100% sure if I made the right choice in making him our starter, but Stephen Childs holds onto the football, putting us up by 18. And I don't think you can expect South Carolina to come back, because our offense has been on fire as we continue to score. Our defense also played really well, giving up just 10 points, and what a stat line this was from our QB. It was impressive, but it was also only one game, so as we simulate through these next couple of weeks so we can get to the Clemson one, we need him to continue to score a ton, and we did that against James Madison, putting up 59 and then 41. He currently has 10 touchdowns to 1 interception, but it's not enough to put him in the Heisman race, and with these 9 remaining games on our schedule, I think we have to choose to hop into the Virginia Tech one and the Pittsburgh one. Even if we do lose to Clemson, they're not in our division, so we could still meet him in the ACC championship, and it's a home game, so I have to trust that we come out on top. From here on out, Sim has to be on our side. It hasn't yet in this rebuild, but we win in OT, and Davenport played pretty well, throwing for 5 touchdowns with only 1 pick. After that, we have Boston College, who's sitting at 4-1, and I'd assume they always start the year so well because they have a weak schedule until they play us, especially considering they're only a 77 overall. I promise, if we drop this game, I am going to be so salty. And Virginia's our last opponent before we hop into another one. Going into this game, we are starting to climb up the polls, sitting at number 5 in the country, but our quarterback's still nowhere to be seen on the Heisman watch list, and he can't compete with guys like Robert Johnson, who have already thrown for 21 touchdowns. We need him to run up the score in this rivalry matchup, and we might have gotten that, as he had 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and on the ground he had another one. I will say I am surprised that we haven't dropped a game yet, just based off of how some of our other seasons have gone, but it might be coming this week because I have decided that I'd rather play against Miami since they're higher overall. The Hurricanes are a 90 while Virginia Tech's an 81 on the road, and this could be our first loss of the season. I just have to hope for the best, which continues to work out in our favor, and now we have an easy one. A lot of these teams in the ACC are not high overalls, so it makes sense why our conference is currently ranked 4th in the country, and we've built a 93 overall team, so I have to expect that we're going to continue to get the right result. I am a little bit concerned though that Davenport still isn't in the Heisman running, because we have to have a Heisman winner, and it's not like his stats are bad. He's currently 3rd in the country in passing yards, and I doubt the game would factor in that he's playing weaker opponents. It's not like he's running up the score against MAC schools, he's doing it against ACC ones that used to be good. And speaking of colleges that used to be good, we have Miami. We might be favored to win, but I still want to play it, because if they're able to beat us, that would knock us out of the ACC championship, and we do have some award finalists for defensive awards, but they're not up near the top. Even though this season's been perfect so far, there's so many different things we have to achieve, and having the number 1 offense isn't enough to be in the Heisman race. I feel like we have such an intimidating top 3, but I need to make sure that Davenport throws for a ton of TDs, and And we also have to be careful because Miami is a 90 overall. It literally took them a minute to score against us, but I think we're going to be able to respond right back. And on 3rd and 6, I'm trying to send in a blitz, which got in. We have some really fast wide receivers on this roster that I keep on hitting. Jackson is so good. Bob Jackson also made that guy miss. And this is such a talented team that I've built, but what was I thinking? After that read, we're going over to Wildcat for a play where Trent Hamilton gets a few. And on 3rd and 6, they're going with man-to-man coverage, so I was going to try and take the slant, but it's probably best if we just run it in instead. Jeremy Davenport has speed, so I have to use that as well. And after a forced fumble, we are threatening to score again. When you have a 97 overall defense, you can always trust them to get the ball back for you when you need it. And I wasn't sure how I was feeling about the team that I'd built going into the year, but right now I'm feeling pretty confident that we're going to be able to win it all. I will give credit to Miami though, they have not gone away throughout the entire game. And with 2 minutes left in the 3rd quarter, this is a crucial 3rd and 7 that they had multiple players get open on. Obviously, they would score a touchdown after that, but we have also flown down the field ourselves. Davenport gets another 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 here. And I just started counting. I didn't even realize he could have gotten into the end zone. You never expect to see your quarterback pull off stuff like that, and we are going to hold him on 3rd and 10. So this is our chance to really take over, and I'm going to do that by attempting to bomb them over the top. I don't know if Davenport has the arm for it, and that was underthrown, but Nate Hayden still brought it in. The wide receivers on this team are literally a cheat code. Now they're getting in pressure, but Davenport can take off on the ground, and we should probably slide. The last thing I want is for him to get injured. We need him to win the Heisman. And at the end of the day, I've also been able to make his stats look great. If this doesn't get him into the Heisman conversation, I don't know what will, but it might not have because he didn't even win Player of the Week. That Red Raider quarterback's going to be a big problem because even though Davenport's name is on the list, he is behind Simpson, and we have to have another good game with him against Pitt. We can still hop into one more, so we might as well, even though we've locked up the ACC. And I'm guessing that we're probably going to play Florida State in that conference championship. It's definitely been a down year for the conference though, as we might be the only team from it that even makes the playoffs, but I guess one is better than none considering what happened to Florida State this past year. We're already going for the deep bomb against the Panthers, and I don't know what you want them to do. This team is filthy. We are going to dot them up. The only reason I even wanted to hop into this one was just to run up Davenport's stat line. We should be able to escape the pressure, and Jeremy Davenport has 2 touchdowns in 2 minutes. Our defense keeps forcing turnovers as well, so this one shouldn't be close, but I was expecting that corner route to get more open than it did. And if you're a Pitt fan at this point, I just feel bad for you. I'm pretty sure it was Miami that beat us in this rebuild, scoring like 35.5, but this time it was our turn to do damage, and it didn't look that bad at the end. Once we put the backups in, we stopped scoring as easily, but Jeremy Davenport still had plenty of time to score 6 touchdowns, and let's just make sure that we end the season with a win. I would be so shocked if we didn't, but you never know. It is a rivalry matchup, and once again, Davenport played very well, scoring 5 touchdowns on the day. He's gotten his team ranked number 2 in the country behind the Buckeyes, himself up to number 2 in the Heisman race behind Frank Simpson, and the Tar Heels in their first conference championship of this rebuild against Florida State. By now, we've already made sure that we are locked for the playoffs, but if we don't win this one and win it by a ton, we're not going to get all the awards that we need to complete all the challenges. I'd honestly be devastated if they held us to a 3-and-out already, but I know they're not going to stick with Matt Madsen. I don't know why teams like to press him, and I swear I've opened up almost every game I've hopped into with that exact play. Normally, they start the back off after we pull that one though, and we just broke a Mitch Trubisky record, so that's how you know that Davenport is having a great year, because despite his struggles in the NFL, Mitch Trubisky was good in college. I will say I'm a little bit upset that we don't have a quarterback with more throw power, because that is going to be underthrown, but Matt Madsen still comes away with the ball, and if we had a guy with like 95 throw power, I'd be throwing up bombs all day. It is now 3rd and 8. We could get the Seminoles off the field again, and I don't think they stand a chance. They've showed 0 signs of being able to stop our offense today, and we've got a Heisman on the line, so I have to run up the stats with Jeremy Davenport. He's even helping Nate Hayden set records, and just because I can, I want to attempt a 59-yard field goal. We got held to this, but that's why you recruit a good kicker. I am kind of glad that on the new game, making it from that distance will not be that easy, and honestly, it might be impossible, but that's more realistic for college kickers, and we are going to keep scoring. Jeremy Davenport has got to win the Heisman, but ever since that moment, he hasn't scored another touchdown until this play, so we'll see. We won the ACC championship by so much, we might be the 1 seed, but the real question is about the Heisman Trophy, and we're about to find out if Jeremy Davenport was able to take that home too. It was such a close call, but they did give it to Frank Simpson, and at first I was really impressed because he had 50 touchdowns, but then I looked at his total stats, and I have to say Jeremy Davenport's were more impressive. Instead of 50 total touchdowns, he had 61 total touchdowns, and he's playing for the number 2 team in the country, while Texas Tech is down here with 2 losses at number 9. We also didn't win a single defensive award though, because Todd Hill fell short on all of them, and I guess I can start to look through the first team All-Americans, but I doubt we're going to get 5 of these either. We do have 4, but that is not enough. This is definitely the worst I've ever done on a set of video challenges, and I still don't know how we didn't win the Heisman. We even had the Biletnikoff winner in Nate Hayden with his 17 touchdowns and over 1,000 receiving yards, but it just wasn't enough, and I don't know what else Jeremy Davenport could have done. Since we made it this far, we still have to try to win it all though, and there's a good chance that we'll be playing Texas in the next round. We got a first round bye, but I think we're going to meet the Longhorns in the quarterfinals, and that's because they're a 93 overall team playing at home, but Baylor kept it closer than I thought they would, and they'd lose since they didn't score on that final play. I wish we were on the side of the bracket with Boise State, but that's not the case. And with this matchup, there's a decent chance that we're a second round exit. I feel like we have to redeem ourselves in the playoffs though, because if we're not going to win all those awards, the least we could do is win a championship. And of course, Texas has already scored, making this a really big 3rd and 5. Now that I no longer have to stat pad for Jeremy Davenport, we can run the ball a little bit more, but he is still the one that ends up reaching the end zone for us. And I'm going with straight man on this 3rd down. I messed up my user, but Adam still gets over to intercept the football, and I highly doubt that anybody is going to catch him. I cannot believe that we just made that play. They'd respond back after that, tying it up at 14, but we're still the team that's in the lead. We're probably about to score again, and I cannot believe that that interception actually went that well for us. Jeremy Davenport is getting thrown around though, so we're going back to just passing the football, and that would have been a touchdown if he just hit his target there. He's gonna miss again, going for an interception, and it's his fault that going into the half we're probably going to be losing. I might as well run commit here, but they decided to throw the football, and holding them to just a field goal would be so nice. I feel like we could actually pull it off. So that was a really good defensive stand. Now we just have to hope that they come out in something like cover 2 or cover 1, where we are going to break the press with Hayden, and it's not going to lead to a touchdown, but it is probably going to lead to a field goal. I've been surprised at how inaccurate Jeremy Davenport's been recently, but this is probably the toughest opponent he's faced all year, and we're going for it on this 4th and 5 where we are about to take the sack. This is not good. He is going to break the tackle though, and please tell me he is able to get it. We literally just set Texas up to score again, so now we're trailing by 7 near the end of the 3rd quarter, unfortunately, and I can't believe how this game's gone. The Longhorns defense has just been that good, but I do see the left side of the field is open. Thankfully, he didn't take the sack or anything there. He might fumble though, and all I want to do is make it a tie game again, which is gonna happen here. Now we have the Longhorns on a 3rd and 7. Our press man-to-man coverage looked really solid, so we should probably run that more often, and my plan with this drive is just to run out as much clock as I can and kick the game-winning field goal. It shouldn't have been this close in the first place, but we aren't going to have any issues establishing the run on the ground, and it was a lot closer than I would have liked, but we're still headed to the semifinals. All it takes is 2 more wins to win it all, and that pick 6 really was the play of the game. And with Penn State coming out on top, we have to face them. They're a 90 overall with a 95 offense, but I feel like we can probably handle that, and I just want us to run up the score as much as we can. They'd get on the board first, putting the pressure on us, so now we're the ones working it down the field. And if Trent Hamilton could get the right blocks here, he'd have a touchdown, but they're filling up the gaps pretty well, and this isn't it either. I might be better off just throwing it through the air. They have good run D, so we're going to pass inside the red zone, and I'm about to take a sack. I cannot believe that Jeremy Davenport was able to fight his way in, but I'm not going to complain about it, and hopefully we're able to get them off the field, which we do. Now we're going for the go-ahead touchdown, and all of that misdirection did cause our backup running back to get open on that play, putting us on the 13-yard line where their man-to-man coverage is sticking pretty well until this. Eventually, one of our talented wide receivers was going to get open, but the refs are trying to take it away from us, and I don't see how they could. This was so obviously a touchdown. Of course, we got to keep those points on the board, and I am afraid that they could pick this up, but their quarterback always throws it way too short, and if we have a good drive to end this first half, we could be up by 14. We have to avoid the sack though, and you know what? I'm going for the route bounce. Matt Madsen goes up and gets the catch, and I don't think he's going to be quick enough to score a touchdown, but he has set us up really nicely here, and what a play from our wide receiver. We have so many different talented guys on this roster, and I'm pretty confident we're going to end this first half getting another 7. We don't need much more now. The slant might have gotten open, but I tried to make a play with Davenport, and I got too cocky too soon. Now we're going to have to really work it through those zones, and that's what we've done, but it's dropped, so our Biletnikoff winner couldn't hold on, and I really hope we have enough time to get this play off before trying to get a field goal. I had to give Nate Hayden another shot to make up for it, and that one decision has changed this game for us, but we keep failing to hold on. I've talked up all of these wide receivers so much, and I think we might have a touchdown, but even though we don't, I'm perfectly fine with it, because we're still going to take a 3-possession lead, and on a 3rd and 3, I feel like their quarterback's going to try to scramble, which is why we were able to make them take their 3. This has pretty much been a defensive masterclass, and I'm very interested to see what type of coverage they have on this 3rd and 13. That is a throw perfectly on the money to Bob Jackson, who's gone, and after that moment, there's no way that Penn State was going to come back in this one. With less than a minute left, we're still going to be up by 3 possessions, and we're headed to the national championship. It's either going to be against Boise State or Ohio State, and I'm really rooting for the Broncos in this one, but unless they can pull off this 4th and 8, they're not going to come out on top, and they are short. They put up a really good fight against Ohio State though, and it's left us with a battle of the 2 undefeateds. We could be in trouble as there are 97 overall, but we've made it this far and all we need is one more win, so hopefully I can at least complete the championship challenge. They've already got us on a 4th and 4, and it looks like their coverage is sticking like glue, so I just had to escape the pocket so I didn't take a sack there. Go down. And they keep running man to man where it's working really well. We didn't hold up their defensive line for long enough. I had to run again, but Davenport has to be exhausted, so this time we are going to throw it. Now we should be able to let Trent Hamilton go to work, and that is what he does. But our amazing kicker somehow missed the extra point, even though he's like a 90, 95 overall, and please tell me they didn't pick that up. Okay, Hunter came out of nowhere to get it, and our defense has already gotten a stop. We'd score after that, but so would they, so we're still only up by 1 possession, and they haven't been able to stop our offense yet, which should be a pretty good sign, but it's still kind of early, so we can't say too much yet, and our defense stops them again. We're in a really good position right now, especially if this is the final drive of the half, but they've just left Jackson wide open, so I had to take the touchdown, and I don't know what just happened to their coverage. I think it's safe to say the Buckeyes are just having a rough day as we continue to have success, and if we go up by any more, this game is 100% over, which is so close to happening. I know I failed half the challenges in this video, but at least I won it all with North Carolina, and I might have to run it back trying to complete all these challenges with another school. We had players like Jeremy Davenport that were good enough to win the Heisman, but maybe our conference just wasn't tough enough to get that award, and I wanted to say I was surprised at how many players are going back for another season, but as I scroll through this, you're going to see so many different players going on to the NFL. This was another one of the most talented teams that I've ever put together in a rebuild. I'm still salty we only completed 3 of the challenges, but sometimes that's just how it works out, so I will be giving away another copy of College Football 25 to a random commenter when the game drops, and the number of copies just continues to add up.